Before we begin this journey, do me a favor, like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because the story I'm about to tell you isn't just dry facts. It's a saga about obsession, war, betrayal, and a legendary weapon that survived against all odds. And you know what? It's still with us. It's been held in the hands of princes, spies, and gangsters. And I want you to stay with us until the very end, because the juiciest details and most unexpected twists await you in the finale. Don't switch off. Now picture this. The 1920s, the 20th century. Europe is just beginning to lick its wounds after the First World War, that great war that ground millions of lives to dust in the trenches. The air still smells of gunpowder and fear, and generals are already feverishly counting their losses and thinking, what if it happens again tomorrow? They need a new weapon. Not just new, but the best. And onto the stage steps him, John Moses Browning. A legend, the king of gunsmiths. If there were a Leonardo da Vinci in the world of firearms, it would be him. His brainchildren, the Colt M1911, the very one that became a symbol of America, the Browning M2 machine gun, which still fires today, and dozens of other systems. This man's mind didn't just birth mechanisms, but works of art of death and survival. And then, in the 20s, he gets an order from France. The French army wants the dream pistol. Compact, powerful, and most importantly, with a huge magazine. So a soldier could keep firing for a long time without reloading. Sounds like a task for a genius, right? But here's the catch, friends. Browning himself, that old wolf, looks at the task and frowns. A big magazine? Double stack? He turns up his nose. He considers it unreliable, a crutch, not an elegant solution. He's a man of principle. He believes in simplicity and reliability. And that's the first plot twist. The genius rejects the very idea expected of him. Instead, he starts working on two versions of the pistol. But his heart isn't in this magazine excess. And you know why? Because he's used to winning with other trump cards, balance, ergonomics, brilliant mechanics. And then fate strikes. In 1926, in Brussels, the great John Browning dies. A heart attack. On his workbench lie the blueprints of an unfinished pistol. The story could have ended right there. Another unrealized project gathering dust in the archives. But then he appears, Dieu d'en save, the shadow to the genius. A little-known Belgian engineer from Fabrique Nationale, or simply FN. Imagine his position. He not only has to finish the master's work, but also redesign it for the capricious French order, which the master himself disagreed with. It's like finishing a painting by Raphael, an unthinkable responsibility. And Save does the incredible. He takes Browning's groundwork and starts breaking it down and reassembling it. He puts a hammer in place of the striker. That's his solution. He struggles with that cursed double-stack magazine the boss disliked so much. And you know what comes out? A masterpiece. A pistol that wins over the acceptance committee. But, irony of fate number 2. The French, who ordered it all, look at the creation and say, no thank you. They choose another pistol, the Model 1935A. And you know what was best about it? A design painfully similar to the good old Colt M1911 by none other than John Browning. So, Browning's spirit defeated Browning himself. Seems like a failure. FN invested effort and the customer walked away. But genius, even dead, knows a thing or two about pistols. The Belgian army looks at Save and Browning's creation and says, this is exactly what we need. And in 1935, the pistol is adopted into service under the proud name Pistolet Automatique Browning FN Modèle 1935 de Grande Puissance, the high-power pistol, abbreviated GP35. Save's name isn't mentioned in the title. He remains in the shadows. And the world gets a pistol that will go down in history simply as the Browning high power. And here's the first paradox. A pistol that is half the creation of a man who rejected its key idea, and half the creation of a forgotten engineer whose name is lost. Now, friends, take a deep breath. We're moving to the late 30s. Clouds are gathering over Europe. Nazi Germany is gaining strength. And in 1940, with one swift blow, the Germans capture Belgium. The FN factory in Herstal now works for the Wehrmacht. And the high power, the pistol of the free world, starts being stamped for Hitler's soldiers. under the index Pistol 640B. It ends up in the hands of SS men, paratroopers, and Abwehr officers. It seems fate is mocking Browning's legacy. But remember our hero, Diudon Save. This guy isn't just an engineer, he's a patriot. Right before the capture, he pulls off a move worthy of a spy thriller. He packs his suitcases not with clothes, but with the most valuable thing a designer has: blueprints, folders, diagrams, calculations. And with this luggage, he flees to England. He doesn't give the Nazis a monopoly on knowledge. And thanks to this, parallel production is set up in Canada across the ocean. The Allies start churning out their own high powers. And here's the moment of truth. The exact same pistol, with the exact same markings, meets on the battlefield on opposite sides of the front. A British commando landing in Normandy pulls a Browning from his holster. And a German officer in that same Normandy pulls out an identical one. They shoot at each other with twin weapons. Isn't that the highest form of war's surrealism? Now, let's talk about cold, hard numbers and facts. Why did everyone love this pistol so much? Let's teleport to the USSR in 1941. A terrible war is raging, the Red Army is testing everything that shoots. And a captured high-power lands on the testing range. Soviet engineers are a tough crowd. They don't take anyone's word for it. They put it through hell. They fire it with thick grease, with dust, with no grease at all. They freeze it to minus 50 degrees Celsius. Imagine that cold, the metal becomes like ice, fingers stick to it. Then they heat it up, fire it at angles upward, downward. And what do you think? The Browning survives. Only 4.25% failures. The best result. Our native TT over 8%. Even the Finnish Lottie, made for the cold, loses. Soviet frontline soldiers who went through the hell of Stalingrad and Kursk write in reports. Redesign our TT, give it a magazine like the Brownings. Is that not the highest praise? When your enemy, fighting you to the death, admits, "Guys, your thing is fire," and then the war ends. It would seem the high powers era should end with it. The time of assault rifles, rockets, and nuclear bombs is coming. But no. The magic of Browning's genius and Save's stubbornness proved stronger. The pistol didn't just survive, it conquered the world. Countries on every continent bought it. From the jungles of Vietnam to the deserts of the Middle East. It armed the bodyguards of the British Queen. The Prince of Wales, the future King Charles III, wore it on his belt. Special forces loved it, Mossad, SAS. Gangsters hated it because it was too reliable in the hands of the police. Why? What's the secret? Let's break it down. 13 parabellum rounds in the magazine. 5 more than the legendary Colt 1911. That's firepower. The hammer save installed gives a cleaner trigger pull. A comfortable, ergonomic grip that fits the hand like a glove. And most importantly, that very reliability that Browning's spirit breathed into it. It's not just a piece of metal. It's an idea. The idea that a pistol must be a soldier's last argument, and that argument must always work. No exceptions. Production continues to this day. The modern version, the Mark III, is the same old high power, just polished to modern standards. It serves in dozens of armies. It's a symbol that true genius knows no borders, takes no sides, and outlives its creators. So what do we have in the end? A story about 2 stubborn men. One, a genius who didn't believe in a big magazine. The other, an engineer who proved the genius could be wrong. A story about how a weapon escaped the Nazis in a suitcase of blueprints. About how it earned the respect of even those it fought against. This is a story not so much about a weapon, but about people. About Browning, who forever etched his name in steel. About Diudon Save, the unfairly forgotten shadow who would later create another legend, the FNFAL rifle. About soldiers on both sides of the barricades, whose lives depended on this mechanism's reliability. Next time you see a Browning high power in a movie or a game, remember this story. Remember the 20s, the escape from occupied Belgium, the fierce cold on the Soviet testing ground. This isn't just a pistol. It's an entire era, clenched in your palm. So, friends, is the story over? Oh, not at all. I have a question for you that still stirs me. What if Browning had lived to see the project through? Would he have admitted save was right? Or would the high power have turned out completely different? Write your opinions in the comments. Let's debate. Be sure to like if stories like this grip you, as they do me. And most importantly, subscribe to the channel, because we have many more such sagas ahead. Sagas about iron monsters, forgotten heroes, and brilliant failures. Stay tuned, don't miss it. Wishing everyone peaceful skies overhead, and until next time,